Hi everyone, happy Sunday. Hope you are starting your day wonderfully well. It's a beautiful day outside here in Brisbane in Queensland. So, I hope you've had a wonderful weekend so far. And, I wanted to come to you today because a favourite topic of mine, and I'm sure it's a favourite topic of so many people, is do you love food just too much? And I think it's really appropriate to actually talk about this now because we're coming into that time of year where we start to have parties and engage and all those things, upon the festive season. So I did a little bit of research, and so I wanted to share that with you today. And I've just got some notes that I'm going to read from, so I can give you the right information, because I actually was not aware of this myself. So this study was done by a lady by Dr. Susan Bauman. She's amazing. She's a nutritionist. She's a dietitian, and this is some of the stuff that she was sharing. So actually, up until recently, the scientific community, they actually scoffed at the idea of a food addiction, and I never thought that was a real thing either. It was thought that the act of overeating doesn't really qualify as a substance abuse. So, so if we think of, addicts who take drugs, they need increasing amounts of the stuff to get high. Okay, so that way, and you'll definitely know if they show symptoms of withdrawal, and, if they're denied to get a fix. So people who claim that they're a food addict, as in I'm addicted to pizza, although they don't experience a pizza withdrawal, and most people don't necessarily need to ingest an increasing amount of slices in order to get their fix or, get their enjoyment. And so what she was saying was there was actually a recent study in Yale University, and it found that in some people, exposure to high foods in fat or sugar leads to chemical changes in the brain that make them want to return to those foods again and again. And I think this is why, sugar is one of the, the big things today where people are really, trying to decrease it because it's in everything, right? And it's a little bit addictive. So she goes on to say, in some ways, we're all predisposed to overconsumption. Our bodies are programmed to constantly search for food, and our brains are wired so that we're rewarded when we find it. So I guess if we think back, way back when, we had... they used to hunt and gather, and they would have to find their food. It wasn't actually abundant. And like these days, all you got to do is, you don't even have to drive anywhere. You can just Uber Eats it. Like it's amazing how convenient food is. So this is a little bit of a sign of, I think, of what's to come. And the thing that really hurts me about this is that whilst it's convenient and I use these things myself, what's interesting is that we need to be very careful about what we're doing here, because obviously we're going to have a massive problem with weight gain. We're going to have a massive, we know obesity is on the rise. Diabetes is on the rise. And, these are things that just we shouldn't accept these days. But it just takes things in us to be able to have some self-control. Anyway, so she goes on to say, our ancient ancestors craved high-calorie foods and experienced pleasure from eating them, which then drove them to continue to seek them out. And it makes sense that sweet, fatty foods would be some of the most pleasurable because they're so calorie dense, and they would have been highly prized. So today, of course, we've got plenty of food, as I said, but our wiring hasn't changed. The reward centers in our brains are made to light up when we see, smell, and devour our food. So the Yale researchers reported that high-tech brain scans help them to distinguish so-called food addicts from ordinary, everyday overeaters. So participants filled out a food addiction questionnaire. Then they underwent a brain scan while admiring a picture of, say, a milkshake. So in those who had scored high on the questionnaire, just gazing at the milkshake caused their pleasure centers to light up like a Christmas tree. Now, I 100% would agree with that, because I know even for myself, if I see cheese is a massive vice for me. And if I see cheese, oh my gosh, I get excited and I really want cheese. So Susan goes on to say, it's also been shown that when we eat foods high in fat or sugar, it drives up levels of dopamine. That's a neurochemical substance that stimulates the pleasure centers of the brain. But in some people, fatty, sugary foods don't raise the dopamine levels very much at all. So then they crave more and more of these foods in an attempt to do so. So, they think that this is maybe due to a shortage of dopamine receptors in the brain. So that's areas where dopamine molecules first need to bind before they can work their magic. So I know there's all these technical terms, but basically what it's saying is it's a reward deficit. So it's also thought that's what's thought to lead to the addictive behavior, and which includes alcohol and drugs. Okay, so there's just no question that those who struggle with their weight, the primary issue is that they've got bad habits, and they need to be changed, and they need to be changed permanently. Okay, so while the psychology of overeating has been pretty well researched, food addiction itself, they're now doing studies into the true psychological differences in the way people respond to food, which I think is a really good thing. And it may explain why some people are able to control their weight much more easily, while others feel completely hopeless. Now, I don't know if you feel completely hopeless about your weight loss, or trying to maintain your weight. I know for me, I've never necessarily had a weight issue, but as I'm getting older, as I'm hitting menopause, things are changing for me, and so I know that I need to change a few things up, and I need to do things a little bit differently. And so the cool thing is that by being surrounded by a community of people, that's really where I get to, they hold me accountable, I hold them accountable. And so as part of this study, I thought it would be a great idea just to share with you what we've got coming up. So we have an online 6-week challenge. So most people want to feel good for Christmas. It's definitely warming up here in Queensland. I don't know about where you are and where we find you, but we've got a 6-week online challenge coming up. It starts Monday week, so tomorrow week, and it's open to anyone. And so we really want to give you some information, and all you got to do is just comment below or send me a message, and I'll be able to give you further information around that. And look, maybe it's not necessarily something that you think that you want to do, or you don't know much about it, and that's completely fine. But if you struggle with your weight, or you want to just feel better and fit into a nice dress or something for Christmas Day, so then you can sort of relax a little bit, why not come and join the challenge? That would be awesome to have you on there. Also become part of the accountability group. We're working on the mindset. We're working on meal plans. We're working on how to meal prep. There's so much gold. There's a bunch of us coaches all doing it. So it's so super awesome. And so if you want more info, just, like I say, comment below. And if you know of anyone that this can help, please hit the share button and, share that with them so that they can then reach out and we can give them some information about that. So, and I guess, look, the thing is, 6 weeks is going to pass anyway. We're about 8 or 9 weeks out from Christmas. Like, oh my gosh, where has this year gone? So, the 6 weeks is going to go anyway, so why not get yourself into a better shape, feeling better within yourself. That's my aim. I mean, I do want to lose some kilos, I want to tone up, but I really want to feel great within myself come Christmas Day. And I hope that you got some great information from the study. So if you also want my notes from that, just send a comment below, or private message me. Happy to share the information around Dr. Susan Bauman and what she found. Happy to share that with you as well. Have a great Sunday, guys, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Okay, bye.